All right, so we have come to our final. Yes. That was all of you. Thanks. All right, so we have come to a time now where we are at the final fireside for the day. Bittersweet, but we have an awesome woman that I'm going to bring to the stage just so she can tell you a little bit more about her journey. And just like we've been doing, if you have any burning questions, I'll be sure to be quick and leave some more time for you guys to ask questions, all right? So without further ado, let's bring up Emuye Reynolds. She here? Yeah? She here? Huh? Oh, she's coming. She's making a grand entrance. So who wants to be a boss-ass bitch again? Here she goes. Yeah, she got a theme song. Clap it up for Emuye. First of all, shout out to the soundtrack. Yes. You did that. Hey. All right, let's grab a seat. You can grab this mic.
Okay.
We'll have you be front and center.
All right.
And let's move this here. Oh, are you going to present?
Yeah.
Oh, well, we
Okay.
go.
All right.
Here
I'm
you
actually going
go.
to stand as well.
I'm going to sit, and we're going to have her present. I'm going to move over here.
Thanks, Mavens for having me, and thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm Emuye Reynolds. I'm the head of mobile at Superhuman in San Francisco, where we're building the fastest email experience in the world. I've previously worked on apps that many of us use every day, including Flipboard and Apple TV. And I have the fun claim to fame that I was one of the first iOS developers in the world. Thank you. Thanks. I'd love to begin by sharing a bit about my story, and then I'll share a few of the strategies that I've learned along the way. These are strategies that I believe were really important to helping me develop and shape my career. So first, a little bit about my journey. I stumbled upon computer science in college, but I hadn't even heard of it before I got there. A prominent, intensive intro to computer science class at the university had been mislisted in the course catalog. So the professor actually had the TAs going door to door, asking people if they liked video games and computers. I'd always had some interest in games and science and computers, so I figured I'd take the class, give it a shot, and I was immediately hooked. I loved how immersive the problem solving was as a developer. I did feel, however, that I was at a huge disadvantage while studying computer science. Lots of my peers had already taken CS AP classes in high school, and the entire program felt like it was geared towards people who already knew how to code. This was a pretty different world back then when I went to college. I didn't know that getting a CS degree would open so many doors. I didn't actually know what CS was. My roommate's chunky iPod was the height of consumer hardware at this time, and I'd never heard of the tech hubs of Silicon Valley or Seattle. Facebook had just launched its university program, its app for university students. I stuck with it, though, and ended up at Apple working on the initial launches of Apple TV. So over the years, my role has shifted a lot from those first few years as a developer. I still love to spend as much time engineering and writing code as I can, but my role has expanded to include managing other engineers, product management, design review, developing hiring practices, and executing strategy at a company level. Along the way, there were some strategies that I've learned which really stand out. I think these are approaches that I would have helped me, if I'd learned them earlier in my career, would have helped me to accelerate my career, maybe more efficient, and just enabled me to have more fun along the way. So hopefully these learnings will give you all a leg up in your career. Oh my God, the clicker. So the first thing I'd like to share is what I've learned about trust. We can only build products that change the world by being a part of a larger team that is working towards a collective vision. In order to create a team like that, you have to work with people you trust, and you have to build trust in the people you work with. So something I've struggled with in my career is handing tasks over to people. As I've grown, I've learned that you have to trust the people you work with. And I've also gotten better at finding teams that have great chemistry or working with a team to build it. The best teams I worked on were better than the sum of their parts. Everyone has strengths and weaknesses, and great teamwork magnifies each person's strengths and minimizes their weaknesses. People end up working together for a variety of reasons, but we aren't tied to our coworkers the way that we are to our friends and family. So it's everyone's responsibility to build a team out of a disparate collection of individuals. When I decided to leave Apple, I had no idea how to evaluate a company. The landscape in tech had changed dramatically while I'd worked there. I started before iPhones existed, and when I left, Apple was headed towards being the most valuable company in the world. I spent a bunch of time interviewing and having conversations with various companies. I was excited by a few opportunities, but I ultimately took a job at a 5-person company called Zeit. The work chemistry with the team was just right. On days when I didn't bring 100% of my energy, interacting with my teammates would help me get there. There is an amazing energy echo that can only happen when the workplace chemistry is right. Now, finding a team I trust to work with is the most important criteria I look for when seeking a new opportunity. So remember, you can't do it alone. To build something truly special, you need a great team. The next thing I would like to talk about is finding your work style. So I tend to be a pretty direct person, and this is something I've had to modulate to help other people be successful and to be a better teammate. An example of this kind of modulation is there are circumstances when people talk through an issue in order to work through it. I realize that in those circumstances, I need to give the person time to work through it without giving initial direct feedback or jumping in. That kind of feedback can so quickly shut something down. At the same time, bringing my style of direct communication and feedback can speed up the process of reaching decisions after everyone has had time to consider the alternatives. Embracing your own style adds a different perspective to the decision-making process. And I think only through various perspectives and styles can you truly create something special. You spent your entire life developing your style. Of course, adapting to your environment is important, but be unapologetically you. So I encourage you all to hone in on your style, refine it, and recognize that it brings something unique to the table. The third thing I'd like to discuss is how important it is to take breaks. I can't count the number of times that I've spent hours trying to solve a problem in the evening, only to figure out a solution in the first 5 minutes of work the next day. We've all been there. Sometimes I think I get more done in the shower or when I'm taking a walk than in hours of work on the same problem. A few weeks ago, I came back from vacation and I was full of frenetic energy. I was so excited to get back to work. And this was all because I'd taken the time to recharge. I'm not sure why in tech we struggle with this need, but tech and the surrounding industries often fail to support or even acknowledge the fact that we need to take breaks. It's healthy for you and for the people around you to take time to recharge. It's also important for the business. A company that encourages people to take the time they need has an advantage in recruiting and retaining talent. It also has more efficient and happier employees. You'll be way more effective at your job, and frankly, just plain happier, if you take vacation, take breaks, and take a step back when you need it. The fourth thing I'd like to talk about is growth, and specifically growing outside of your comfort zone. I'm an engineer by background, and part of the reason I was attracted to that career was because engineers spend a ton of time heads down, not talking to people, and working through problems. But I think one of the things that has helped me be successful in my career was to get comfortable in situations that make me uncomfortable, and especially in those times to push myself to keep growing. In this way, I seek new kinds of challenges, like getting in front of an audience and giving a talk, and like interacting directly with new customers, onboarding them to Superhuman. So every now and then, find that thing that you don't want to do, but which you think will be helpful in your career, and push yourself to do it. There's a common expectation in tech that you should always have all of the answers. I've been in so many different kinds of environments now with people saying that they deal with imposter syndrome. These are people that I never would have expected to say it. People that manage entire organizations or make decisions impacting wildly prominent software companies. I've come to realize that everyone has knowledge gaps, And these kinds of fears are incredibly common. The fear itself is not something I know how to change. And developing confidence in my career has been, it's been a process, both in my career and developing that confidence as a leader. But asking for help or asking questions when you don't know the answer is incredibly brave. It's also incredibly effective, and not doing so can lead to stagnation. So I'd love to give everyone here a reminder. Ask questions, ask for help. You don't need to know everything, and you do deserve to be here. So I hope you come away from this talk with some tools that you can use in your career. Try to keep these things in mind as you gain new experiences. Trust the people you work with. Find your style. Take time away. Grow outside of your comfort zone. You deserve to be here, and it's okay to ask for help. Well, thank you everyone for listening. I hope you've enjoyed spending some time with me.
Yeah, so now it's me and you time.
Let's do it.
It's us now. Great. Do you need some water? I know you were
I think I'm all
talking.
right.
You good? All right.
I'm all right.
Cool.
Give it a shot.
Awesome. Can I see your clicker? Thanks.
Yes.
It's my turn.
Perfect.
Can I actually get my proper slide team in the back? Because I got the clicker now. Awesome. So what I'll do is in the meantime, until we get the conference questions, I got my own questions. So first of all, thank you for running through that. Thank you for telling us a little bit about your story, the tips that you left everyone here. One thing that we've heard through the day is this notion of just consistency, right? Just like sticking to it. Has there been a time where you just wanted to throw the towel in, where you're just like, you know what, this isn't worth it, and you basically almost quit? And that's a real question, because every day.
Definitely.
Makes me time.
I can think of two times that I've had that feeling. During college, as I mentioned, I felt like the entire program, everyone around me already knew everything we were learning. And it was sort of either a refresher or they were going to that next level. It was just super, super hard. And so I thought a lot about switching majors or doing something different. But for me, I had never really thought of anything that I thought would make a good job. Something where the time would just go really quickly while I was doing it, which is what I thought would make a good job when I was 18. So I wanted to keep going because I wanted that experience. But yeah, it was super tough. The other time that comes to mind is when first few years I got out of school, when I was working at Apple. The team was just a really weird dynamic. I didn't know what a job was like, but people would flip tables, they would yell, someone kicked a hole in the wall once. And there's all of that going on, and there's sort of a feeling of it being like an old boys club. Like I just wasn't part of that group. And so that was another time where I was like, why am I here? Why am I doing this? And I just had to keep pushing through.
So I wanna stay with the Apple realm, right? So can you tell us a little bit more about that experience? So we know that it was this boys club. We knew that it was kind of the new latest and greatest. So really, what was that experience like, and how did the learnings from that shape who you are as a professional today?
It's hard. It's a really hard question to answer because I was there for almost 6 years. So it shaped a lot of it, set me up for success in other jobs, but also showed me a lot about what I never wanted to deal with again. And as I mentioned, when I left, there were all these doors that were open, which I didn't expect. And so I stayed. It wasn't like I thought I had to stay, but I was like, this is a really good opportunity. There's so many fun things to work on. The talent level is incredible. But yeah, I think it taught me a lot about what I would want to build in a culture when I left. And so most of my career after Apple has been really small companies, starting between 5 and 10 people and building that to something larger. So now I have the opportunity to sort of take some of those things I saw and make sure that they're infused into the next opportunity. One of the things I talk about a lot is just no assholes. That's a vibe that it sounds so obvious, but honestly, I've worked with a lot of assholes. So,
I think a lot of us can agree.
Yeah. So that's something that I try to make sure to encourage and can kind of force, I would say, wherever I go.
Nice. So I've learned a lot, and throughout the day, another theme that came up is like when you think of technology, there's so many avenues and realms of it. There's so many ways that you can take. So for you, going into application development specifically, why was that the choice for you?
I don't know these questions ahead of time, by the way.
That means she's just fly, and she's doing it on the fly. That's why she's here.
I really like working on things that people actually use, and that when I use them. So I sort of the sweet spot for me is right between product and technology. And in order for me to be at my best, I want to use the thing I'm working on every day. And so I think that. And I also want people to see it and touch it. I like this tactile kind of feeling with technology. I didn't know that going into it, but I've sort of done some things out of it, and I always find my way back to working on sort of consumer-ish kinds of applications.
Nice. And then what tips would you give the women, and we got some men in here, shout out to all 4 of you, but what tips and advice would you give to those of us in the room who, A, maybe on the side of we're interested in technology, but we're not quite sure where to go? Like, how can we, what steps do we take to decide what avenue is truly for us? And then just in general, for those of us who we know our avenue and we're doing it, but we might be starting to experience a little bit of burnout, how do we keep the fuel going?
Mm-hmm. Those are both good questions.
And I know you're not prepared, but you've been doing great.
I think on the first part, how to figure out which aspect of technology you might be interested in, I would recommend just using as much technology as you can. So download every app, go to meetups, talk to people about things they've built. Talk to, if you're interested in maybe data science, talk to data scientists, and really just, I think, explore that angle. There's tons of information online. There's tons of different kinds of things happening, and people I think who are in the industry tend to, be a bit more open than it might seem from the outside, in terms of just I can't even count how many coffee chats we call them at my job. I have a week just talking to people about technology. And the second part of the question for people who are already in the industry, how do you keep going through? As I mentioned, take breaks, take time away, talk with people who are not in technology. I think that's one of the most important things I do. Remember that there's this whole world outside of it.
Awesome. So on the topic of, let's talk about resources, right? So some of us are, and I say us because I'm one of y'all. So some of us we work a 9 to 5, and we're fine there, we're happy, and things are going well, we're learning a lot. And then many of us are entrepreneurs. We're working on building our next big thing. Some of us are still playing in both fields. So when you think of resources for you personally, what were some of the main ones, the contributing factors for you and your success? So whether it was mentorship or money or training, what were the ones that worked the best for you? And I know they're all important, but when you think of what to prioritize first, what would you say should be your top 5 in terms of resources?
Definitely people. I think training it's useful. It's something that people are, everyone's just going to have to do to move around, or if you're an entrepreneur, there's a whole bunch of skills that you probably aren't using in your day to day. So that's important. But there are a few people that I think I've met along my journey who I can call and I can say, hey, I'm thinking about making this move, or I'm thinking about doing this crazy thing. What do you think? And just collect those people who have your interests at heart, even if they don't know anything about technology, and kind of move with them, I think.
Okay. And if you got the people, what's next?
What's the next thing for...
Yeah, I got my people, so I know who I'm going to reach out to. I have my mentor. All right, I'm on, I'm moving. What else should I start to consider?
Build something.
Product.
Yeah, really start to just jump in there. there's never going to be a perfect right time, especially if it's like you said, and this is a side project or something that someone's working on in their spare time or thinking about moving to. But yeah, if you have the engineering skills, literally write the code. If you don't, if you have some design skills, or if you can jump into Keynote, build the prototype, just build something that people can see and start to think about, and that will get other people excited potentially, and you can actually move forward with it.
Awesome. And then this is just a follow-up to that. It's not on here. Sorry, team. Do we have time? Okay. I'll ask one last question then, and then we'll open it up to everybody. So when you think of, being a Maven, right? What does it mean to you personally to be a Black female Maven just kind of doing her thing? And then after this, we'll open it up to all of you. So again, feel free to join behind the mics.
It's really a hard question, I think, for me, especially because it is who I am. It's not something I think about, on a day-to-day. It's something, to be honest, I get asked about more than I think about.
That's when it's in the DNA, all right.
Yeah. And it's been a process, I think, embracing that, recognizing, it's amazing to look out into the audience and see so many faces that, resemble mine in certain ways. That is not what it is like where I work or anywhere I've ever worked. So I think trying to, radiate being a Maven, I think is what it means to me.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We're going to open it up now to anyone in the audience who may have any follow-up questions. And don't be shy. All right. Yep. See some movement.
I have a question.
Okay, so we'll do right and then we'll do left.
You go first.
Yes, I love it.
This
All right,
is
she's gonna
great.
throw it
This
to
is
you.
different from the workplace, hey?
Right?
We're like, no, you go.
Like, what? You want me to speak? Yes.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
What do you foresee for your trajectory, your career trajectory? You're giving me CEO vibes. You're giving me founder vibes. Like, what do you want after this?
I don't know. I'm super happy with what I'm doing. I get to be, in many ways, a mini CEO. There are a bunch of parts of. I've talked a lot about some of the good things. One of the parts of technology that I've never really gotten used to is raising funding, and that whole world and that whole environment, and that tends to be, at least in Silicon Valley, what the primary role as a CEO is, at least for a small company. And I'm just not quite interested in it. But I definitely consider starting something on my own. Most of what I've done, as I mentioned, has been, in the starting with about 5 people. So I get a lot of that feeling. But yeah, right now I'm just, I'm super excited to scale and grow the company I'm working at. I started there when we were 8 people, and we're 30 now, and we have users and we have revenue. It's crazy.
Yes, you're making money. Awesome. And over here.
Hi, yes. My name is La Fountain. So your 5 key takeaways you left us with, one of them was know your style. And you talked about the fact that, you have a very direct style, and that when you work with people, you have to understand how that style impacts them, sort of shuts them down and doesn't allow them to speak. So I guess I'm asking you because I have a direct style, and that a lot of times my style, I guess, it comes off as, again, like you said, like I'm sort of intimidating, or I don't give other people ways to speak. I know it's something that it's my journey to work on that and figure that out, but I guess I'm just curious to you, what were things that sort of lend you to sort of make those changes, and what some of the things you did to make those changes, so to speak?
Great question.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think when I really realized the impact, it was actually my husband who mentioned this to me. And the way he phrased it, I hadn't quite thought about. So he said, maybe someone asks a question or poses something to a group, and you have an idea, and maybe it's a good idea, so you jump in with it. And he was saying, but imagine if someone's still working through their idea or hasn't quite gotten there, they may never speak up. And I honestly had never thought about it that way. And so one of the things I try to do now is just, keep in my mind, just keep thinking, just be the last to speak. And it actually works out a lot of times for the best, because I get to hear all these amazing ideas, and it's like, okay, I can kind of take that. It's like, and here's what I thought in the first place. But yeah, that's one of the things I think that really helps. Just be the last to speak.
Right here.
loved your talk. It was super informative. As a senior member of your company, if you're doing an interview and you notice somebody is short in their technical experience, what are some things that would make you take a chance on them?
Very, very good question.
That's a great question.
Everybody's asking that through him.
So one of the things I think that is super important when hiring is the stage of the company. When I'm working at a really small company, often we, in many ways, can't take a chance. We are not going to be able to set that person up for success. And so that might not be something we do. As the company is scaling, and if you're working at a larger company, I think it's super, super important to do it though. And so some of the things I look for, one of the things is energy. Maybe they don't know the answer to the problem, but are they enthusiastic about solving it? Do they ask me questions to help get them to that next part of the question? Another part is just chemistry. Like, are we, even if we're not gelling over the answer, are we just interacting? I think when I think of some of the engineers and people developing through their career, the people who are, I think, the most successful are the people who are really interested in growing. And that doesn't mean you know everything. It just means when you don't know, you push through to figure out the answer.
Awesome. Does anyone else have any final burning questions before we end our fireside? No? Awesome. People out here making requests and proposals for mentorship. All right. That's what the after part is for. No, well, awesome. Well, let's give it up for Emuye. Thank you so much. It's awesome. And we've basically come to the close of our day. I know it's sad, right? But first and foremost, I want to thank again all of the sponsors. You guys saw all of the logos on the screen that we had when we started. Birchbox, if you guys got your makeup done and you took pictures and got to participate in that, thank you to the team there. And I think most importantly, shout out to We Build Black. Can we give it another round of applause for them? Specifically, She Builds Black. I see Adichie sitting in the corner right here, all just quiet. And, thank you all for the vision that you have and for the day. I know I personally took a lot out of it, so I was very just selfishly sitting up here soaking everything up. So I hope as much as I was able to receive, you are all able to receive that as well. And yeah, continue to network. I don't know if Devin, you want to come and say a few words, you should. And let everybody just see the face of the CEO of We Build Black.
Oh my God. First of all, I do, and there is plenty of this out there for y'all. Second, I want to really thank everyone here because I know y'all appreciate everything we do for y'all, but at the end of the day, if you wasn't sitting in these seats, then we wouldn't be able to do this programming now, would we? So that being said, I really want y'all to go out there, mix, mingle, drink, and live life. And yeah, man, thank you for really coming out here. Or yeah, woman, I should say. Y'all enjoy y'all lives and y'all nights.